themselves. Yeah. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's session of Breaking the Glass Ceiling with Mr. Farrokh Cooper, the chairman of Cooper Corp, who will tell us a bit on the Cooper Corp legacy he has set forth for us. Before that, I would like to request Mr. Tempton Dalal of the Western region to give a brief introduction on Mr. Cooper. Mr. Dalal, please go ahead.
I'm Tempton Dalal, the chairman of the Mumbai chapter of the World's Authority Chamber of Commerce. Welcoming each and every viewer today to a wonderful webinar in the name of Breaking the Glass Ceiling, the Legacy of Cooper Corporation. It is a fireside chat which Farrokh Nariman Cooper will have as the chairman and the managing director of Cooper Corporation, together with Success Master, an outstanding entrepreneur today, who is the joint managing director of the Master Group of Companies. It is indeed a pleasure, as also a privilege, to introduce Farrokh Nariman Cooper, who is a recipient of the WZCC Outstanding Entrepreneur of the Year Award, besides many other social awards, which recognizes his contribution to the community. He is the grandson of Sir Dhanjisha Bamanji Cooper, who was the chief minister of the erstwhile Bombay Presidency. The Cooper legacy dates back to 1921, when Sir Dhanjisha Cooper established the Cooper Engineering in the historic town of Satara and created a wave of industrialization without losing its heritage. Farrokh, the speaker today, has studied in England, graduated in agriculture, had plans to work in agriculture industry, but had to take up the reins of Cooper Engineering. After the death of his father and grandfather, and after his brother, Sam Cooper, who was managing the company, became paralyzed due to the unfortunate serious accident, Farrokh, through his grit and hard work, acquired engineering technical skills to run and grow the engineering enterprise. He took the Cooper Corporation to greater heights. His tagline, "Wise planning makes you a Superman." So today we are going to have a Superman giving us a wonderful talk. Since 1921, when Cooper manufactured their first Indian-made iron plow, Farrokh has taken the business to such a level that the corporation now manufactures automobile parts, engines, generators, crankshafts, pistons, flywheels, and many, many more. Now they also manufacture tractors. In today's chat, Farrokh talks about his journey and appraises us, the youth, to aspire to become entrepreneurs by disclosing the keys to building and sustaining a successful business. It's all about commitment and well thought out plans, he says. With these words, I present to you the uncrowned king of Satara, who will have a fireside chat with Success Master, a treasurer of our Mumbai chapter, who is a well-known entrepreneur and a managing director of Master Group of Companies. Over to Farrokh and Success.
Thank you, Mr. Dalal. Thank you very much for the kind introduction. Welcome, Mr. Cooper. Hope everything is fine with you. And
first and foremost, thank you for inviting me. And thank you for all these words of appreciation you're saying for me. How much I deserve of that, I don't know. But I was truly flattered to hear about this. So I'm excited to talk with you all. And I think WZCC is playing a historic role in the community of Parsis worldwide. So
thank you for these kind words. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think one thing we forgot to mention was that you are also an excellent host in Satara and were a former lover of single malts. Now you've become a good boy and have stopped having it.
Very true. But cognac, XO, anybody wants it? I've got 20 bottles lying around.
But unfortunately, now you don't join
Take them. Anyway, but I have to start by telling Xerxes that he should know I don't like blowing my own trumpet, but he keeps on making me blow my trumpet. So I like to be known as a submarine, because submarines see the world, but the world doesn't see the submarine. But if somebody troubles the submarine has torpedoes. So it's a coexistence. Anyway.
Well put. Well put. Let's start with the session. There's a lot of interesting questions lined up.
Come on.
So, Mr. Cooper, as you mentioned earlier in your introduction, your brother Sam Cooper was running the show, and you were going to be an agriculturalist. Life had a very different trajectory for you.
Yeah.
Or you had planned rather a different trajectory for yourself.
Yeah.
And then, in a minute, as it happens many times in life, things change.
Yeah.
Your brother had an unfortunate accident which left him incapacitated, and then your mother had a choice to come to Bombay, I think, and to leave everything in Satar or to carry on the show. And you turned your life upside down from an agriculturalist to an industrialist. So how did you manage to? It's a very big paradigm shift. How did you make that shift from an agriculturalist to an industrialist at that age and taking such a big chance in your life?
Well, you see, look at it this way. In life, when you have a crisis, there are three things that happen to a person: fright, flight, or fight. So if you're in a crisis, either you want to run away from it, you fight it, fright, flight, or fight. So I decided to fight it. And we had very good friends in the industry, and they said, look, as long as you're ready to learn, we'll help you. So all my customers said, we are there to support you, and we don't want you to close down your business. We're there to support you. So with that support, I came forward. I mean, that was
as they say, the rest is history.
The rest is history.
Yes.
But it's been a bumpy ride, but still, everybody's life is a bumpy ride. Nobody has it totally smooth.
No.
In life, you have to count your blessings, but carry your cross. The lighter your cross, the more you count your blessings, the lighter your cross will be.
Very true.
But having gone through this journey, which it is a journey, and I won't bore everybody because everybody is a success story. Time chooses you. You don't choose the time. So if something happens or if something is favorable, don't hesitate or don't dither. Grab the opportunity and do it. You automatically find your way through things. And the other thing that helped me through all this was, as you say, agriculture to industry. You must know what you don't know. You have to be humble enough to say you don't know this. Find out somebody who does and listen to them.
Very true.
And in this way, you build up your own team.
Very well. And you have a good.
And then you have a different perspective to life. And that is basically what professional management is today. If you let professional management run your businesses, that is what they will do for you. You may own an aeroplane, you may own a company, but you don't have a pilot's license to fly it. So I'm sorry if I deviated a bit.
No. Thank you. No, that's very well put. So Cooper Corp has had an illustrious history, and we would like you to give us an example of the most defining moment in that history of this wonderful organization that you have created and built up.
You see, I was educated abroad, as you know, and I had some very good friends abroad. I went to the best schools. I mean, my school was the king of Jordan's son was there, the king of Thailand's son was there, you name it, they were there. But we were all treated as equal. But we were all told you should be taken at your face value and don't tell a lie. So I had some very good friends there. And we had to set up some equipment. And I didn't know a thing about anything. So I first went to America, and the American fellow went back on his word. Then I came to England. Then I went to that man's competition, and his name was Mr. Gibson. So I said, Mr. Gibson, I've come in at the evening. It's a winter's evening. I don't know a thing about what I'm talking about. I trust you. You tell me what equipment I should buy, what price I should pay you, but I want to know what results you would prove out for me. So he was a bit gobblified. He says, come tomorrow. I said, all right. I went there tomorrow. And unlike the American, the American wouldn't show me the factory. This fellow said, I said, may I see your factory? He said, yeah, go, just walk around. But I said, isn't there security? He says, no, walk around. So I just had a look around, not knowing anything about what was going on, to be honest. So I said, no need to, as I said, I don't know, but I want you to do it for me. So his name was Mr. Gibson. So he said, all right, it worked it out on a piece of paper. This is what your job requires. This is the investment required. This is the return you'll get. And I said, will you prove it out? So his son, looked at his son, Martin, and he said, Martin, go to Satara, sit there, prove it out to him. And he proved it out. And because of the technology I have, I'm not boasting, but I could say I'm in the top 3 or 4 in the world in my technology.
That's
So
very.
that was a very big defining moment.
Okay. So you just went and shot a shot in the dark, literally.
Well, I was desperate. Shot in the dark instead of shot in the dark, desperate.
Desperate. Desperate times call for desperate measures, right? So I mean.
Yeah, and that was a defining moment.
Okay.
Same thing was when we decided to make engines. I did a similar thing. I went into Ricardo, and those people were old enough to be my sons. So they looked at each other and says, Mr. Cooper, do you really want to do this? Because it's hard work, and you should be retiring by now. So I said, don't worry, I want to do it. Then they started whispering to each other, are you sure he has enough money? So I said, yes, I think I have enough money. So when that doubt was settled, and somebody told them he stinks of money, so then they started my engine program, and that was another big success for me. So these are the 2 big defining moments, I could say.
Wonderful.
Which has put me above the rest.
Wonderful.
I mean, there are many such stories, but I think these 2 are interesting for you.
Ricardo is an old partner of yours. I think they were there. They had flown down.
They were there before, but it's 70 years ago before that. So,
okay.
And when there's a generation gap, of fellow talking to you is just out of college at 27, and he's looking at an old fellow of 55. He says, something is wrong here, So these are the 2 things which were really defining. And that gave us the cutting edge of technology.
Good.
What we've invested in is a lot of technology.
I'll come to that later on.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Cooper, as you said, life is not a straight line. It's full of bumps, waves, high tides, low tides. So can you tell us, everyone has had a big make or break moment in their business careers. What has been your greatest disaster till date? And how did you come out of it?
Greatest disaster one was my brother's accident.
That was the start, but I'm talking of business. So how did it?
Business-wise,
a near-death moment or a make or break moment? That must have been. Every company.
Oh
has
yeah. Well, once we had a big strike, and I was very young, hot blood, and in 1 hour I sacked 500 people, and there was a huge uproar in the town. So I said, I don't care. I'm going. And all the big trade union people from Mahindra and Mahindra came, and Pune came, and whatnot came, and Kolhapur came, and Bajaj trade union leaders came, because I stepped on the tail of a snake. So it so happened that from my grandfather's company, which was Cooper Engineering, there was a man called Mr. Patil, J.B. Patil. He was also at that function. And he was a socialist by heart, but he earned his living by advising capitalists how to run the human relations department. So he knew he was a strange amalgam. He's still alive. He was a strange amalgam of socialism and capitalism. So all the trade union fellows knew him. Patil साहेब तुम्ही रस्ता दाखवा कारण की आम्हाला काय समजत नाही काय करायचं आणि Cooper जर डोक्याला गरम आहे. So he went and sat down with those people. Then do people understand Marathi or not? I don't know.
Well, we do understand, but you speak it wonderfully. I was about to say that.
So anyway, so then he sat down with them and ते म्हणलं आम्हाला मार्क सुचवा. So म्हणलं मार्क सुचवा म्हणजे show us a way. So then he came to see me. And that time he was vice president of Cummins, Kirloskar Cummins Human Relations, and Cummins assembly line had stopped because of me. So then he asked me, what do you want? I said, I'll do whatever you say. Get rid of this thing for me. So he said, all right. He said, they want union recognition. But if I give them this, I want something back from them in return. So he said, how many people do you employ? So I told him whatever that number was. He said, if you don't mind my saying so, you've got too many people. So if I agree to union recognition, are you ready to pay them for voluntary retirement? I said, done. You go and do what you want. So he went. And that fellow was on a hunger strike outside the collector's office on Saline. So we agreed to the union recognition, but the police read out that he's also agreed to voluntary retirement. When the workers heard this, they thought we'd bought him out. So they abandoned him. There was no union, and we lost 500 workers. We paid them off.
So you lost 500 people, meaning they just left?
Well, we gave the voluntary retirement scheme.
Okay.
Which is the pittance.
Yeah.
In those days. I mean, it was a few thousand rupees. But I allowed that man to do whatever he wanted, Mr. Patil.
Yes.
And the same Mr. Patil was responsible for the defeat of Datta Samant in Premier Automobiles, Bombay.
Oh, okay.
So these are defining moments. I trust people and I follow their instruction. Because if you don't know how to manage this thing, let somebody else do it. You can own the airplane, but you can't fly it.
Absolutely.
So you can't say, I'm the boss. Who factory chalawano chav? Nahi. Factories are run on merit, not on ownership.
True. Very true.
Sorry, is that enough for you? Or what?
Yes. Yeah. But interesting anecdote.
Yeah.
So now industrialization is moving a lot towards electrical, your industry, especially the automotive industry whom you're connected with, is moving towards electric cars. I think next 10 years, it's going to be all electric eventually. How are you making this transition from an electric automotive supplier? Because I presume that a lot of things are different for the electrical components.
Well, let me answer this question for you. I don't know who invented electricity. I think James Watt, no? Who invented electricity? James Watt, no?
I think so. Or was it?
Okay.
I don't know. But anyway.
Well, there is evolution in the world, but evolution doesn't mean when the world is evolving, it doesn't mean that it's erasing or burning out what is already evolved. I mean, when were cycles invented? Cycles were invented 100 years ago, penny farthing cycle. Cycles are still in demand. In fact, you have carbon fiber cycles which cost the earth. So electric vehicles, Jaguar has said, 2030, they'll all be electric. Mercedes says no. Audi has said no. BMW has said no. There is going to be a space for electric vehicles, but it is too soon because nobody knows enough. Nobody knows whether the power will be available, whether it's going to be really eco-friendly. It may be eco-friendly in big cities, but where are you going to dispose the batteries? I mean, you just now mentioned about Houston or Dallas. They had no generators for a week. There's nothing. What will you do with an electric car there? I think both are going to live with each other. There's a space for both of them. True, in a big city, electric, fine. I mean, I've known electric milk delivery vans in England for the past 60 years. But I don't think everything will be electric somehow. There's going to be a space for hydrogen. There's going to be a space for methanol. There's going to be a space for diesel, petrol. So that is my view on it. And sure, I mean, horses for courses. So that is one view. The other thing is I'm well equipped already to make a lot of components for the electric vehicle. So I'm not concerned about that.
So you don't think that will be a big challenge for Cooper Corp?
No, not at all. Because I have a large aluminum foundry and I have a large aluminum machine shop.
Okay.
So I'm already having parts for that.
Okay.
But this is my take on electricity. It's a sort of a hype. It's a sort of media. I mean, nature evolves. Beethoven was evolved 300 years ago. The Beatles came along and swept the world aside. But both Beethoven and Beatles still exist. I mean, you can play both of them on the YouTube music.
Interesting.
So it's not one that's going to replace the other. That's my view. It's not that. I mean, I used to go from Nepean Sea Road to Nesbit Bridge, Nesbit Road, Baikala to St. Mary's School. And they used to have, in those days, a trolley bus. That means it was run by electricity, which would use the same electric cables as the trams. You remember? The trams used to run in Bombay.
Not in my time, sir. Not in my time, but I'm sure many of the people here.
Well, okay. The tram wires used to be there.
Yeah,
then they removed the tram wires. They said they're getting a nuisance. We want the petrol or diesel engine. So it's a continuous ebb and flow of technology.
Okay.
But nobody has really succeeded. I mean, you're traveling in an emergency. You're traveling. You don't want to spend half an hour charging your car. You want to fill up and move.
It's an evolving.
What do you do in times of emergency, like a flood? I mean, day before yesterday when I spoke to you, there was no electricity here for 12 hours. What do you do? Oh.
True. Interesting.
All things put together, I think they'll coexist. And I mean, look at another example of evolution. The Dutch from the times of I don't know how many years, they had windmills in Holland for obvious reasons. Then everybody says, oh, windmill is the flavor of the day. But the British said, no. Windmills will disturb the birds. So put the windmills out to sea. So everybody wants to say something different just to show that they know something.
True.
And internally, I shouldn't say this, but internally, many top executives of many big car manufacturers have said, we know it won't work, but there's such peer pressure from shareholders, we can't say that we are not going electric.
So it's window dressing.
Huh?
Window dressing to a large extent.
Yeah, I mean, they will exist. Fair enough, they will coexist. I mean, I remember when was that oil crisis, when suddenly the Middle East raised the price of oil?
The 1970s.
The Japanese had super tankers, which were gas guzzlers. But with the computers, they developed these things with sails. So whenever they were on the high seas, the sails would blow the thing with the wind. And whenever they need to put on the engines, they put on the engines, like a hybrid.
True.
So I mean, that's my take on electric somehow.
It'll be a hybrid model, according to me.
Hybrid model.
My next question.
Hybrid model. And I mean, from electric, you've gone to solar.
Yeah.
Okay, solar. I have a lot of solar in my factory. But each has its place. You know, you can't invent something to displace something. You know, you invent something to complement something. That's my take.
True.
Okay. So
That's
have I answered your question? You know.
Very well. Very well. Next question,
okay.
Important one. So you're one of the last.
Sorry?
Important next question is quite important and relevant. You are one of the few last Parsi legacy-owned family-run businesses. One of the very few remain now. What's your plan on grooming the next gen? What's your take on succession planning? How do you foresee that happening? What are your ground rules? What advice can you give us?
Can you speak a little louder, Xerxes, please?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So next question is that you're one of the last few big Farsi-owned family corporations there.
Again, you're praising me too much. Okay.
No, but it's valid. Let's go on with that, but for a minute. But how are you grooming the next gen to take over the business?
Fortunately, I will tell you, since we've been in this town for over 100 years, I have people working with me for 3 generations. They are my professional management. Though they may not look, they don't wear a suit and tie, but they're the professionals, they're running it. From the family side, I have my daughter and I have my nephew. Both are there. But today, if you look at it, the size of us, it's an amalgam of professional and and family. But it's a unique combination of professional and family run on meritocracy. It's not run, I shouldn't use the word Marwari or dictatorship, but not run in an old-fashioned way.
But have you laid out a plan?
You will not exist in that way.
Agreed. But have you laid out a plan? Not that you have to diverge it, but have you laid out a plan for the transition and for how?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. It's already running in that way.
Okay. And my next question is
I mean, I don't have to tell somebody to do something. Sometimes they phone me up late in the evening. I said, haven't you gone home yet? They said, nice, I wasn't kam samplane. You know.
You're fortunate enough to have that. But just to elaborate further on the question, and it's a matter of it may not be a very nice question to ask, but supposing that when your next gen takes over, would you be comfortable, or would you be wherever you are at that time, or whatever it is, would you be comfortable with the idea of them selling out and to green up?
I don't think anybody wants to sell out. There's too much money there.
Okay. What if they get a good valuation?
Sorry?
What if they get a good valuation? What if they want to cash in?
I think I don't think they want to be sitting idle. They're hyperactive as it is.
Okay. Good.
And sell out and do what?
Yeah, that's many people do nowadays. The young generation doesn't want to.
I know, but then I have got my ancestry all are from Mumbai. A lot of my family, a lot of my relatives after the parents died have sold out. Some are dead or some are bankrupt because easy come, easy go.
Money doesn't last forever.
You sort of decay if you do that.
Very true. That's my background.
Fortunately, this present generation doesn't want to decay. They want to work. So
good. So your family has played a vital role in your growth as well. Your support system. Can you elaborate on that? Who has been your wife, your children, your nephew? How have they made you realize?
Well, I think that the anchor in my family has been my mother, because I was born after my father died.
Okay.
And he died because there was no penicillin for pneumonia. He first had typhoid, then pneumonia, and unfortunately passed away. And this will be interesting for you. People keep their verbal word. It is sovereign. So on his deathbed, grandfather told Walchand Hirachand, look after them. So Walchand Hirachand financially supported us till I was the age of 21. We used to own 200 liquor shops. And my mother's father was a share broker. He lived on Nepean Sea Road and opposite the Russian consulate. And he came down and settled things here. And we had one Parsi manager, Mr. Dumasya. He lived also here. And Satara was a wilderness, literally wilderness. I mean, there's no road. We had to come by tonga and candlelight. So they kept things going. I mean, Moraji Desai came along and closed all the liquor shops. So there was no booze to sell. But they kept things going till my brother could start something. He started something, but he banged up. And then after he banged up, before that, he divorced. He had a young son, my nephew. So I had a widow, I had my nephew, and I had my brother. So flight or fight. But my mother was the main pillar, I could say, who really saw things through. And she was very courageous, very courageous. And she let me do what I wanted to. But again, as I say, she was clever, capable person, and politically, nobody troubled us because we kept our word. I mean, am I deviating too much? I don't know.
No, it's done. I mean, it's good. You've answered your question quite well.
Can I tell you an interesting case?
Yes, please.
Quickly. All right. In those days, somebody owed my mother money, but there was no proof of it. And she went to a lawyer. She said, madam, you can't do anything in law because there's nothing on paper. Because there wasn't things on paper in those days. It was by mouth. But he said, मी ज्या माणसाने तुम्हाला फसवलेलं आहे त्याला मी ओळखतो आणि त्यांचं काम माझ्याकडे आहे आणि ते काम यशवंतराव चव्हाणचं उजवा हाताचं कडे काम होणार. So he called that man, he called YB Chauhan's right-hand man, and he said, look, this is the matter. They owe Cooper so much money. So Yashwantrao Chauhan's right-hand man said, I know Cooper, they do not tell lies. When are you going to pay the money? That fellow got such a shock, he produced it on the spot on the table.
Good.
I mean, that is what life was in those days. People kept their word.
Unlike today.
I can't answer that. You're asking an honest man awkward questions. But there's still people who keep their word.
Yeah, there are exceptions, of course.
I wouldn't say exceptions. I would say they're silent. I mean, look at what Ratan Tata did. He gave 1,500 crores for COVID or whatever. I can't mention the name on this thing, but there was a gentleman in Bombay who bought a house for 1,000 crores. Look at the contrast. Look at the contrast. I mean, it hits you.
It hits you, yes.
Doesn't it?
Very true.
Huh?
Yeah, irony hits you. Oh, it's home.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, no,
Come on.
next
So,
question would be that you, of course, as you know, that you,
if you tell me I'm rambling too much, then I'll control myself.
No, it's not rambling at all. So my next question is, yes, exactly what you said right now.
But it's Xerxes, little louder, please. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
So you give back, as you rightly said some time back right now. Wanted to ask you on your CS. I know that you do a lot of CSR work in and around Satara and outside as well. Could you please elaborate on that?
Even with courtesy that Mr. Patil, even before CSR was invented, or sort of not invented, sort of legislated,
yes,
we used to give enormous money for schools, libraries, computers, medical facilities, operations, waterworks, everywhere. And we have formed, because of this, Mr. Patil, after that labor strike, I'm talking 30 years ago. Our union formed a cooperative society, and our cooperative society supplies us the labor. And for that, we pay the union supervision, we pay the cooperative society supervision charges. And they've collected a few crores, and that money is spent for the welfare of the workers and their families. And that has been in existence now 30 years.
And what else? What else? I think you also give a lot of, you fund a very big and a super specialty cancer hospital in Satara. I have been there.
Yeah, I mean, the dime a dozen. Yeah, we've given about 60 lakhs and whatnot. Yeah. But we keep on doing that, but we keep on doing it silently without any funfair and whatnot. I mean, you know, and you have to live, you have to be one with the people somehow.
True.
You cannot be different, and you should not be different. Why should you be different?
True.
No?
Why should you? Of course, that goes without saying. But giving back is so important. As you said, many people don't want to give back or choose to spend it on themselves. So that is a commendable fact.
No, I don't say I don't say I'm a Gandhian. I don't wear a dhoti. But you don't have to sort of go end all and all is not just to be selfish. I mean, unless you live in an environment where you're comfortable and where you're respected, there's no use, no?
Absolutely.
I mean, you can go anywhere. I mean, people go to America and England and Europe and wherever, but don't they blend with their environment? I mean, how did the Parsis make their money? They didn't make it sitting in Iran. No. They made it in India.
And they built the city.
And the love of India you will not get anywhere. I remember from childhood, my relatives and all, my mother's sister was married into the Jijibai family. Another sister married Zubin Mehta's uncle. But the love of the Indian people, the lalia, the trust, kabatni chavi nokar paase rahe. What does that show? You can't do that in Germany or England.
Correct. Correct.
They'll rip you off.
Correct.
No, I mean, there's a lot to be said for that.
Absolutely.
And that is because of that, Parsis are respected. I mean, that's my take.
But do you think even today we are losing our sheen?
Tell me if I'm rambling, huh? Then I'll stop myself.
No, this is interesting. Tell me
Once I landed from Finland via Delhi, and the Delhi culture is a little different from Mumbai culture.
That would be an understatement, but yes.
But the fellow at the customs fellow kept on looking at my passport. So I don't show any allergy or overreact. I just say, Haji, 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 Haji. So I answer the questions he asked me. So he kept on looking at the pages of the passport. And then he says, "Aap Parsi hai ji?" हाँ जी हम पारसी है क्यों साहब पारसी लोग देश चलाते हैं पारसी लोग बहुत अच्छा आदमी है and he stamped the passport and let me go. It came from him without my asking, and I had nothing. I hadn't brought any contraband or anything which I wanted customs duty free.
You should have.
What rubbish. Then you're not a Parsi. साला पाथे फिलिप दुकान यहाँ बॉम्बे में भी मिले ना तो लंदन में भी मिले.
So my last question, Mr. Cooper, before we open it up to the participants, what's your advice to young entrepreneurs, the next gen, for the next 5 to 10 years, or what is your advice to them in general?
Well, put your nose to this grinding wheel. The world is open for you. Opportunities you have, we didn't. Exploit them. Exploit them. You can do anything. You can do anything which we couldn't. I mean, Sattar, I was the first person in this town to buy a computer. And people thought I was mad. Sahib, 400 rupaye ribbon anta. Godrej typewriters ribbon 40 rupaye. Sahib, baga, kal kutai. I mean, sky is the limit. Just do what you plan to do. And I think automatically every person's life is a centrifuge. You sort of evolved into situations and they take you forward if you want to go forward.
But Mr. Cooper, don't you think that today what you're saying is true, but don't you think that competition and is far, far, far more than what it was during your time, and it just makes it more difficult? Everyone wants to be
I would not say so. It's a question of how much you want to magnify something. Competition has always been there. I mean, in my college, I had to pass 36 exams before I got an agriculture degree, including how to milk the cow. One of my exams was how to milk the cow. I know how to milk a cow, but not the company. But there's an art to it. I think you have to face life as it is. You can't be moaning and groaning about everything. No?
Correct, correct.
No?
No, I agree with you. I agree with you. But you don't think that there is some, I mean, you think that opportunities are there for especially if you notice.
There's opportunities for you everywhere.
No, but I'm coming back to the community. We had some great entrepreneurs in the old days. I mean, visionaries. Do you think that is there today as well in our community? I'm just talking of our community today.
There should be. I mean, I know some people who are doing well, but there should be, yes. I mean, there's some people who I know abroad who are doing well. I mean, I don't think it's that bad, but they have to, I mean, you rise to your own level of incompetency, but the DNA, it's how you've been brought up, really. If you've been brought up well, you know how to exploit the opportunity, no?
Very true, very true.
And if you have the right culture, I mean, why not? I mean, I once went to Farrokh because I had given a blood donation and I fainted. So my whole family panicked. No. So this was again 30 years ago. So I used to wear white trouser, white pant, and those cotton buttons and a buckle. So he checked me once and then he called me back again. And then his secretary said, are you Parsi? I said, yes. She said, no, Dr. Udwadia believes in looking after poor Parsis. He's refunding 75 rupees. So sometimes when I meet Farrokh Udwadia, I said, I'm ready to give it back to you. Nahi, nahi, muki de, chalo. So I don't think, I mean, I don't know what your view is, but community should be growing.
I don't know.
Well, I know one particular, I can't give the name on the mobile. It's a very large company, listed company, one of the biggest companies in India. And the position of procurement executive is handled by a Parsi lady, a very, very big company, not Tata company, but she's been given the job of procurement. Procurement is a very sensitive post in any company.
No, I am not doubting our professionalism and integrity and capability at all. I'm only talking from the entrepreneurial perspective. But yes,
okay,
that's where
I'm too far away from Bombay to answer that. Then I mean,
so we'll end that discussion here. Thank
okay,
you very much, Mr. Cooper. It was an extremely invigorating talk, insightful. I would open the floor up to any of the participants if they had any questions before we give the vote of thanks. So if any questions are there, either you can put it on the chat or I think raise your hand and maybe I can request Yazdi to unmute you.
A chat means what? I'm not computer savvy, huh?
So there is a chat box here which they put it on and I can read it.
Ek minute, boss ne?
No, you don't need to do anything. I will tell you. Not to worry.
તે મને સમજાવ બા અમારા બાંગ્લા એટલા જારા છે તો બે બટન સામતો દાંબો છે.
You don't have to worry on that front. I will tell you. Yeah. So this is a question from my sister actually who's in the UK. What is the one piece of advice you would give anyone starting a business?
Decide what you want to do before you start it.
But obviously,
put your ego aside and get good people around you.
So can I add one more this thing which was told to me by another colleague of mine in my industry, and I've followed that dictum for the last 2 years, and it has worked only for the last 2 years.
Tell me.
Don't lose any money. That's it. Period.
Don't lose any. Yeah, that's true. Don't do something because somebody else is doing something. Do something which makes you happy.
Very true. Very true. Yeah. Any more questions, please? Anyone else? No, I don't think so. So okay. I would request Beros to please give the vote of thanks. She usually does. Thank you, Mr. Cooper, once again.
You're welcome.
Look forward to meeting up with you. I think it's been over 1.5 years since you have met. Either here. I know. Maybe the second half of this year will be kinder to us, hopefully. Let's hope so.
I hope so. Yeah.
Go to you, Beros.
Thank you. Mr. Cooper,
you've got some nice curios in your cabinet.
Thank you, sir. It's been a very, very interesting and enlightening afternoon. I wish Zaxis had asked some more questions and some more episodes so that we could just sit here and go on and on. But no, sorry, sir. You just give us a call and we'll get you on again, and we'll get you at a time when
we'll have part 2. We'll have a sequel.
I was going to say that we plan.
But we have to have 2 dress rehearsals. Zoom call I've got my computer man standing next to me.
We will request your computer man to help you out.
Where have you bought those plates? Where have you bought those plates from? From France? That red bordered one? Plate?
That plate is a family heirloom. It is 300 years old.
I
don't know how many great grandmothers. Tamari aankh is so sharp. No wonder you are doing. Thank you. I also honestly thank you so much. And
my mother's sister.
Come back.
Sorry, my mother's sister married the Gigi boys, and the whole house from top to toe was full of antiques.
Oh, I see. Okay, thank you. Okay, because of all the things you picked up something that is really that old, Karina. I honestly don't know how many great-great-grandmothers નું છે.
પછવાડે શું લખ્યું છે? તેની પછવાડે શું લખ્યું?
ખાલી નામ લખ્યું છે family નું માજુ કરીને. So it belongs from the mother's side of the family.
હા.
But mummy
But,
didn't know also, so I couldn't get the answer from her.
But is it French or Italian?
मालूम नहीं, honestly. I honestly don't know because just
But
as
then
a
you
family-
should get it valued. You should get it valued.
Okay, but I just want to have it. It doesn't matter whether koi matti nu che, konu che, doesn't make a difference. It just belonged to my
No,
people.
I know, but
family.
somebody shouldn't steal it.
Nahi ji, nahi. Thank you.
ભૂલે ચૂકે આપી નહીં દે.
Nahi ji, nahi. And I'm sure you won't do it also if you're invited home. So don't worry, I'm at peace.
I won't do it.
I'm sure you won't. You're a Parsi, remember? Anyway, Mr. Cooper, we hope you will come back again sometime and
બોલાવે.
tell us more.
But provided you don't find me boring. નહીં તો
Your episodes, the storytelling, you kind of have it in you and you give it straight, very pragmatic. More youngsters need to listen to you, which is, I don't see most of them, but thank you. And we really
You're
appreciate,
welcome.
last time you were not well. So we really appreciate your making a second time effort to come to us.
પિક્ચર કોણનું છે? દેવાલ પર પિક્ચર કોણનું છે? તે બૈરોનું.
Mummy, daddy nu cha.
એમ?
Haji, and they were young.
Very nice picture. Your mother was very attractive lady.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very attractive lady. મજાની સારી છે, કસ્બી કોર સારી છે.
Thank you.
And what did your father do?
Haji. My father
What
worked
did your
for
father
Godrej
do?
My father worked for Army and Navy store before independence. And then after that, he worked
I
for
remember Army
Godrej.
Navy stores.
And then he worked for Godrej. He
Worked for
retired from Godrej. Correct. So, anyway, moving on.
Army and Navy store was at Kala Goda. Was at Kala Goda, no?
That's right. That's right. Correct. Absolutely. Correct. It's still there.
Chalo, so thanks a lot.
No, we thank you for sparing time, coming over, talking to us in such a nice, warm manner. We're not letting you go. We might request you to come one more time again and again. Amtush khali tamne award nathi apyo now. We want to make sure you help us out in WZCC also, Karine. I also want to thank.
Actually, I had promised to give a donation.
Haji. So what's stopping you, sir?
I had promised to give a donation, but a donation. But પાછું કોઈ મને રિમાઇન્ડ નહીં કીધું તો હું મૂકો રહી ગયો.
Okay, so now I will remind you. કેવી રીતે તમને remind કરવાનું મને કહેજો. I'll get Asmi to remind you.
કેટલા જોઈએ?
I'm the Secretary of India region, so it can be my job or my
somebody
function.
called Adil
Percy
Irani
can
has
tell
put
me,
up his hand.
can give you the
Somebody
amount,
called Adil
and I
Irani
will
has put up
remind
their hand. Adil Irani has put up his hand.
Adil, for what?
Adil Irani has put up a hand.
Can you check on that? Does he have a question to ask?
પૂછીજો.
Can you put your question on the chat
Adil
box,
Irani.
please?
Jarur.
Mr. Irani, can you please?
I don't see.
Adil Irani.
Maybe by error. I don't know.
કોણ જાણે હાથ ઉપર મૂક્યો છે? Is he belonging to Congress? Ata Chapanja? Is he a member of Congress?
I don't think so.
Okay.
As long as
I don't know.
I think it may be by error because I've asked him to put his question on the chat box. But
Anyway.
Is there a question or can I move on? I also want to thank Behram, Mr. Behram Adeshar, who's a board member because he was instrumental in helping Xerxes coordinate and liaison. I don't think he's on the board, but Mr. Cooper, please do thank him on our behalf. Of course, I want to...
કે હવે વેક્સિન લઈને જરા બહાર ફરે.
કોને ક્યું?
બેરામ ને.
You can tell that
he didn't leave his flat, but actually now it's dangerous. He shouldn't leave the flat.
Okay, so then don't bug him. Let him be. Also want to thank Xerxes because and it's a pleasure to work with Xerxes Master on the committee. He speaks little, but what he speaks, he makes sure it's done. It's conducted.
And I really like WZCC. They're doing a lot of good work.
Thank you.
You're acting as a catalyst.
Thank you, sir. And that is why we look to you towards stalwarts like you to step in, help us, guide us, tell us what...
I owe you a donation. I'll send you one.
Okay, Ji. Thank you. I also want to thank all the members of the committees. Yasri Tantra.
Are you eligible for
I
80G? Are you eligible for 80G?
I don't
नहीं
think.
जी, नहीं जी, नहीं जी.
Naiji,
No.
Naiji, sorry, Naiji.
We are in the process, but we are not.
Huh?
We are in the process of.
Mr. Adil Irani sent a message. You have a very clean Agyari at Satara.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Bolidam Navan.
Thank you.
Then I can move on. I also want to thank Yasri because એના વગર તમે યસરીને બોલાવો તમને કઈ બી કમ્પ્યુટરનો ઇશ્યુ જોઈતો હોય તો he will clean it up and he can get you to us again and again and again in a very nice, comfortable manner. You don't have to worry. So we look forward to having you again. And I also.
Hey, Adil Irani Kech, if you unmute me, he wants to speak.
Zaxis,
Yeah,
over to you.
I think I'm not the only one. Anyway, let me just see one minute. I don't know where he is.
Yasdi ne bolna. Yasdi can help out.
No, I can, but I don't know where he is. I can't see him right now. I don't know where he is.
Even I couldn't see Adil.
I've asked to unmute.
Mane kem janait.
No, it's there. It's there.
Adil
He can
Irani to
unmute
everyone
himself
now. It's
also.
okay.
Yeah.
He can unmute himself to speak.
No, yeah.
Adil, please unmute yourself.
Now it is okay. He's saying it's okay. So go ahead.
Unmuted.
Sorry.
Am I unmuted? Am I unmuted?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Cooper, thank you very much. You've been a very good inspiration for us.
Thank you, Adil. What do
the
you do?
host is
What are
asking
you
you-
doing for a living?
I've got a farm in Danu. I've got a shop in Bombay, and
Acha.
many other things. I keep myself busy. Although I'm now 70 years old.
I had a relative who used to sell chikkus from Dhano. Batliwala ke Batliwala.
They are from Goldwood. Goldwood na chhe
Goldwood.
loko.
Mara sagao che.
Yeah. I mean, Cooper Engineering. You all are basically not into commercial means products with the consumer use. You are from factory to factory, basically. That is what it is. So not many
Mara
people.
genset cheta. There's some holiday resort. Mara genset cheta. Dhano ma.
Okay, you all are generating sets. You all are manufacturing.
Haji.
How
Engine
nice, but then
generating set.
you all are not that much into advertisements, marketing, basically. Cooper Engineering, I know because it's a Parsi company.
That's right. Cooper Corporation. It's now Cooper Corporation.
I had two all bright Cooper family in my school, St. Mary's ISC. And
You were
his
in
name
St.
was-
Mary's.
Yeah, I was St. Mary's ISC, and Farrokh Cooper was one of them.
Huh? Which year were you in St. Mary's?
I passed out in 69.
Barabar cha. No, 69. I passed out in 62.
Okay, so that must be Azim. You must have been Azim Premji back or Mr. Firoz Lam.
Kaun jane, Father Reba was the principal.
Yeah, Farad Libo. I've got a list of students right from 1864.
Father Reba, pachi ek baba, homi baba karine hoto. We used to bully
Exactly.
the life out of him.
Yeah, 62 ma. Okay, but there were many Parsis at that particular point in time.
And there was one Padriwala who was in charge of the PT training.
Yeah, Jal Padiwala.
Jal Padriwala.
I mean, he was the Olympic starter.
I know. Jal Padriwala.
And apna Zubin Mehta also. I think 62. Zubin Mehta may have been in your batch.
No, Zubin was much older to me.
Okay, elder. Okay.
Much older. He's about 12 years older.
Okay. I can send you the whole list. I can send you the list of the teachers, the principal, the students right from 1864.
एक होमी डॉक्टर गगरापनो दिकरो होतो, एक होमी बरजोची होतो, होमी बाबा होतो.
Yes, Homi Baba and his son, his brother, Saurabh Baba.
हाँ, बेव बद्दा होता. But Homi Baba was all chubby checkers. We used to bully him like mad.
He is a professor in Oxford University now. He is an English
I believe
professor.
Harvard University. मैंने contact मोकली अपनी.
તમે મને તમારો ખાલી ફોન નંબર મોકલો.
Phone number, आपले email, आपला Zaxis will give you my email address.
ઈમેલ ને તો WhatsApp message મોકલો. That is faster. Email is like Stone Age.
વાહ, હું Stone Age માણસ છું. ચાલો.
તમે
નહીં,
solid
email બી મોકલાશું.
તમે solid chair, so it's okay. You don't worry about the age part of it. As long as you are there, you are solid. So let's move on. I also want to thank Yersdi.
Thank you.
Without him,
Thank
this would not have been possible at all. And of course, all you audiences, all to 30 of you who are spent the time in the afternoon, I'm sure you all feel it was not, it was very interesting. And Mr. Cooper, thank you once again. And we'll hold you to your word. You always say words are important. We
It's
will hold
such a
you to your word. We will
it's such a lovely
take you back again.
rainy day here. It's such a camera reverse hota hai. It's such a lovely rainy day. I'll just put on the invert the camera.
Yeah, cloudy shape panya rain.
No, WhatsApp par chahiye.
Nahi, thank you. Zaxis, thank you again.
Thank you.
And
Thank you
over
very
to
much.
you to
Yeah. Mr. Cooper, we have to now.
Okay, we have to
close the
close.
event.
All right.
Yeah. So thank you very much once again.
Thank you,
We really
Zaxis, for
thank you,
everything.
sir. Thank you.
You're
Thank
a
you
great
so much.
friend of mine. Bye bye then.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.
All the best.